Hey, welcome back to Geekshow Helpdesk.
Oh,
Back in the
nice
driver's
again.
seat.
It's nice to sit back and let Tony drive, and I can just be along for the ride.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
great
Just ask,
when you
are we
don't
there
have-
yet?
It's great when
Are we
you
there
don't have
yet?
to drive, isn't it?
Are we there yet?
It's much more fun.
Are we there
Tony,
yet?
did you have that anxiety of like when you're letting somebody else drive on a long road trip and you're just like they're driving
No.
driving slow? Come
It's
on,
like
guys.
that anxiety goes away when you don't care
Oh.
if you make it or not. So
Oh.
it's just doesn't matter.
Wait, whoa! Are
Don't
you telling
care
us
if
you
you
don't
make
care
it?
about the show?
Journey
I was-
before destination, right?
That's right. Journey before destination and other things Brandon Sanderson related.
I hope
you
we
go.
have emails about my hosting and how good a job I did. That's all I'm saying. I hope we have
right.
emails about
Wow,
it.
so vain.
You probably think this
100%.
podcast's about you, don't you?
I mean,
Hey, what?
that was pretty good. I mean, no, we do have emails about someone hosting, but it's not you.
Aw.
Womp womp. All right, this is the Geek Show Help Desk where we talk about tech gadgets and science adjacent things that are interesting to us. If you feel like writing us an email, I'm just going to throw this out there at the beginning. geekshowhelpdesk@gmail.com. Now let's go ahead and introduce our panelists. Not hosting this week, it's Owen.
Hey, that's me. That's me.
Owen knows
follow
his
me.
limits, and that's okay.
He might,
Yeah,
he
I
might push his limits next week. We'll see.
Yeah, I got a cold thing still, so
It's going to be his excuse now.
I called
from
in
now on.
called in sick, but follow me here. That's where you're gonna get the most of me. I mean, like 90% of me is here,
There
and
you
on
go.
the 10% on the Geek Show Arcade.
You need to even those out a little bit. But
I wish I could.
I was just say I'm even less, so don't
get
even
there.
worry about it.
he's even less of whatever you decide to fill in the blank with. It's Lando.
Oh, I hate everything about this intro so much. Oh, it's Lando. I'm here. I'm happy. All is well. I'm excited, guys. It's gonna be a good show. It's gonna be a good show. I can feel it. I can feel it in my
Good.
bones.
Not great.
Good
Didn't say that. That was
show.
Jared.
I'm
And
Jaren.
King Pessimist himself. Jaren. No, Lando might be King Pessimist.
Speaking of good, not great.
Somewhere around there.
There
Not
we
great.
go.
Hey, that. Oh, and see, this is why you should be hosting this.
Dang
week,
it! I blew it. That's all I have. Oh,
I used it all.
You could have George Costanza it. Leave it a high note.
yeah.
Hey, Jaren.
Hi. We have a host. His name is Tony.
Hey, back in the saddle. Check me out on Twitter at QuadTTony or on other Geek Show related podcasts. Let's see. Yeah, do we have an email?
We do.
Email.
Got an email from Vaughn H. Subject line, Team Owen.
Wow.
Yeah. He
I have a
says,
team.
Vaughn H. in Spokane, Washington, checking in. Just wanted to say I am firmly on Team Owen regarding Apple. I have to use an iPhone for work and have a Samsung as a personal phone. I cannot stand Apple products and services.
Huh.
If I wanted a phone with 4-year-old features in quotes, I'd dig out my old Android phones out of the drawer. Seriously.
Oh, man.
What are
he's-
those
coming-
Android users?
He's
Blah,
coming in
blah,
hot
blah.
today with his
Why-
Android, his newer stuff.
Why is there some sort of physical slide switch to make the phone silent? Well, good news for you, Vaughn. The new ones don't have that. Didn't the very first Google phone have something like that, from 14 years ago? That's kind of a weird hill to die on. Actually, like the
I wish it still had it. I want
Yeah.
more. I want more physical buttons.
yeah, I like the physical
Yep.
button to silence your phone. I guess it is the perfect device for my 8-year-old nieces and my 70-plus-year-old parents. Wow, he's ages too.
Dang,
As Apple
man.
products are right at their level of technological
Sim,
understanding.
that's what I'm saying. That's why
This is-
Apple's make it so much.
this-
They've got 2/3 of the population. There's
The
only this
youngers.
middle band.
You know what?
That, like,
well,
know
but
what?
between 8 and 70 is 1/3.
well,
No.
well, let's up it to like 12. 12 and
Here's the
under
thing.
and
Well-
60 and older.
I mean, I don't think you're entirely wrong there, Owen, because I know people, kids, teenagers, and up to early
this
20s.
feels so personal. I
All
hate
they
this.
know is touchscreen devices and how to
Yeah.
use those. You put them in front of a computer, and
They
they're
start
as useless
tapping on the
as
screen.
An old person that didn't grow up with it. It's like it's wild. The smart devices, proliferity.
Keep trying. You'll get there.
I don't think the word works, but anyway,
Proliferates is the word you're looking for.
No, that I don't
No.
think that's on-
Proliferation.
Proliferation. that's
There we
probably
go,
it.
Owen.
Yeah,
You,
see,
you always
another
got
reason
it.
You should have been hosting.
Dang it.
I think it's ruined another generation now, further generations on how computers actually work.
I
Like
asked my kid
regular
to,
computers.
I asked my kid to push the start menu because I was walking through something over the phone. I was like, push your start button, your start menu, and he was like,
What now?
Who?
Yeah, so I let my kids use an old computer, old laptop that we never touch anymore, and that's pretty much their only device that they can use.
That's smart. They're gonna have to learn how computers work. You know,
Yeah, real computer.
Is
how
it
to
though?
work a computer.
Is it though? Like
100%.
going forward, you don't know how to use the old stuff. Like the start menu thing Owen was just talking about. That's not a thing anymore. Who cares if they know how to use that or not?
Everyone
the
at work.
Start menu. Everyone that uses
Yeah.
Windows.
yeah, man.
The start menu's not there in Windows anymore. It's like a Windows button or something like that.
It's a start menu.
That's where
Unless
you
you're on a
click to
Mac, then you
start
gotta
doing
you gotta
things.
figure out that every app has its own stupid top bar on a Mac OS. So
I do hate that.
Yeah, that sucks.
I love this.
I
I think it's
hate
great.
that. Why would you like that? That makes no sense.
yeah,
Why not custom? Why not? It's like the iPhone, right? My Mac becomes the machine I need it to be
Uselessly
depending on what I'm
overcoded.
using and doing with it.
It completely ruins the continuity.
the
of-
top menu
of
becoming the
experience.
app. I think that made sense in like early versions of Mac OS, like in the 80s, when only you can have one app at a time.
Yeah, one app at a time.
But yeah, in today's world, I don't like it. Anyway, Vaughn continues. I prefer
Agree
Android
to
like a grown adult. I actually had some heart issues last year and needed to monitor my blood pressure, so I got a Samsung watch. Since the FDA didn't approve the watch to monitor blood pressure inside the US, I sideloaded a modded Samsung Health app that would allow me to use the blood pressure function. I understand it's not as accurate as a medical device, but it was really close. Sideloading for the win. Anyway, looking forward to the next episode. I do love the way you can sideload on Android.
For
and
sure.
It's just more hackable as a result.
It's
And
one more
you can do
tool in the tool belt. You know,
yeah.
thing
You
you can do.
do things you literally cannot do on the Apple side of the fence, and that's
Because
what
they
I
say-
love Android for.
It's okay.
And the
I'm
only
happy.
reason
I'm
they
happy.
do
I'm happy
that-
on my side of the fence.
The only reason they do that is because they believe they know what's safer or not.
I know
They-
what's best
Oh, that's
for me.
exactly
They-
why. Yeah, the
You
walled
know,
garden.
and
You know,
they want their piece of the pie, right? They don't want you to.
So for me, it's always been. I see both sides of the coin here, and at least for the last probably 7 years for phones, I was always envious of the Apple hardware.
Yeah.
Because it was always better than the Android stuff, and I still think it continually is superior to the Android hardware for the
Like
most
build
part.
quality or like actual spec.
Build quality, spec minus RAM. It's better than Android in every
Like
way.
cameras and storage and everything has been better.
It's all the SoC is always the best thing Qualcomm puts out is always at least a generation behind what's in the
2
A1.
to 3
The A1.
generations behind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel any of that. So anyway, what I was saying was I liked the hardware, but I didn't like the software, and I still kind of think I fit into that camp.
Yeah.
I'm still not a huge fan of iOS, but the hardware is just unbeatable against
Yeah.
anything Android has out there right now,
So-
in my opinion. And then when they did their ARM SoC stuff for the laptops,
Yeah.
it happened again. I was like, oh man, I
Yeah.
really want that hardware, even though I do not care for that software.
My smartphone journey, I've had all the major OSs that have come and gone over the years. I started with iPhone 3G. Well, actually, I had BlackBerry, then iPhone 3G. Went to Palm Pre. Don't get me started on Palm Pre. That
Yeah,
is.
we know.
Oh, the
blah,
best.
Blah, blah, worst OS ever.
Then went to Android, and then for a couple years, I loved Android for many reasons. But then I started getting company phones, and it's just been iOS ever since that.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
You know,
So,
I
like-
gripe a lot. I gripe a lot about that walled garden and stuff and how Apple says they know what's safer and what's not. But if you go back to that, basically 18 and below are using iPhones and 50 to 60 and above are using
No,
iPhones.
I mean, that's-
like they need
Generally.
that.
You
Maybe
think-
they need maybe
you
they
think
need
that's the
that.
statistics?
Well, I'm just
I've seen
for
seen
sure.
plenty of older people using Android phones because they're
Yeah.
cheap.
There you go.
True.
Yep.
Yes.
But they have, this is from experience with my mom, like they have a worse experience on Android and my in-laws because they are less secure in that way. They tend to have more vectors for malware and stuff like that the iPhone just doesn't have. And so I gripe a lot about they do that. But that's for me personally. I think I kind of agree with it just because their main use, like their two big areas are the front and the back of the age group there, and
dumb
maybe
people.
they yeah. Is
Well,
that what
before
have
you
on, Lynn?
interrupted my thought mid-thought, Owen, what I was going to say.
Sorry, what was
Good
your
job,
thought?
I've had my run around the block a few times with phone OSs, and to me, the advantage of iOS and the Apple ecosystem is like really with people you're with, like my family members.
That's a big factor.
It is like sharing images,
Yeah.
full resolution images, and that will get better. I know with like RCS and stuff, but and just having multiple Apple devices together, it's
easier to deal
appealing.
with. Yeah.
It is. It's nice.
They do
I
build
really
that
love
better.
Android for its, and more so in the early years than the later years, like with different versions of like cyanogen mod,
Yeah,
that was really fun back then, and you could really just make it your own, and
That's true.
not so much anymore, but
flexibility, and exactly that's like Samsung. They're all trying to pull that flexibility down to keep you in their ecosystem. 'Cause
But
they
I still-
realize the game.
I still do love the ability to sideload. I just really have no need to sideload anymore.
Yeah.
Like I did back in the day.
Yeah, I think I would be perfectly fine if I had to go back to Android. It wouldn't really bother me that much. But I do. I prefer my iPhone at this point.
I don't know. I had a bad experience with Android for about 6 months, and I never want to go back. So
6 whole months, huh?
Yeah,
Back
well, you're
when?
doing
I had a phone, and my iPhone died, and I was not due for back when you had to do upgrades. Remember that?
Okay, so we're talking like an Android phone from 6 years ago.
I don't remember when it was. It was awful. The experience sucked. I hated everything about it. I never want to go back to Android again.
Well, what
I had a
version
bad
did you get?
experience.
Did you get a bad brand, a low budget
I don't know what
brand?
it was. It's nonsense. Like, you can't update your phone when new updates come out. The carrier controls nonsense, and like just it was slow.
You're
And
not wrong
I'd
about
argue
that.
that phone updates today are so much less important than phone updates from a decade ago.
For sure.
I mean, I still appreciate them and I still like them, but
Software
updates in general or software updates are usually a good thing to do when they come out, right? I mean,
Well, yes and no. Yes, in that it might have a new feature you want, but no, as if it's got bugs related that
Yeah.
people haven't caught
well,
on to.
I'm thinking about
I'll tell you
security
what,
updates, right?
I've-
Making sure your device or your software is more secure.
Well, they don't limit the security
Vulnerabilities,
update.
Tony.
They
Yeah,
don't
they-
limit the security
yeah.
updates anymore on
Yeah,
Android.
yeah,
It's
Yeah,
only
security
I don't care.
updates.
I still have bad experience. I never want to go back. In fact, this whole like trading phones with Owen thing,
Yeah, this is your idea,
it makes
man.
me cringe.
You
You know,
sound
I'm doing it for the show. I'm doing it for the listeners. Doesn't mean I want to.
you sound pretty close-minded, Lang. Or Lando.
Yeah.
Speaking of Lang, he's
Has
the
he
next
got an
email.
too? All right. Nice transition, I guess.
Lang says, "Hola, Helpsters. It's been too long, and I've missed writing in. I have to say that the last 2 weeks and this week have all been unlike any other episode. I am concerned that if there was ever an episode hosted by James, that would have to be the series finale of Geek Show Tech Shows." Yeah. Anywho, I wanted to show off a gadget and shoot a question your way. I recently bought a split keyboard. See attached. It's a picture of a keyboard that's split down the middle. For my office, I was just trying to get more comfort with. My eyes just went blurry. Comfort with a 6 foot 4 inch frame with arms as long as Jaren's luscious locks. To my delight, not only is it way more comfortable, my typing has drastically improved too. So the question, what gadgets have you been surprised with the most that you had a bit of skepticism about? Lang. P.S. I'm
Bidet.
just going to give this episode an 8 out of 10 right now. Good job, Owen. Little does Lang know, Owen isn't hosting
Owen
this
isn't
episode.
hosting this one.
Unfortunate.
So maybe
like
next week it'll be an 8 out of 10.
Maybe I'll commit. Yeah, maybe I'll commit. I'll commit to next week.
All right, there it is. We
Put
have
me in.
verbal
Put me-
commitment.
Put me in, coach.
Okay, we got a spot open
Okay.
in right field for you, Owen.
Okay, then. Right field. Love that position. Favorite.
I got put in right field. I hated it when I was in baseball.
I was
I was
literally there a
too
lot.
small to be in baseball.
I finally realized why I got put in right field after a while. It's because I sucked. So
Yeah.
I mean, I can't blame my coach. But
I was
there you
like,
go.
I remember being like, hey, the ball never comes over here. This is awesome. That's what I remember.
So
so-
you'll be in the catcher's position next week, Owen. He runs the field.
Awesome.
What gadgets have you guys been surprised by the most that you were first skeptical about?
Bidet, 100%.
Bidet? Oh, yeah. Good one.
I thought Owen's review was overblown, and I was not prepared for how life changing that gadget was.
No, Owen's review sucked me in right immediately. Like as soon as Owen gave his review, I knew that would change my life.
I was like, I'm interested enough to buy it, but there's no way it's this good. But
I'm telling you,
is.
it was.
It is that good. Bidet is life changing.
It truly is.
I'm still skeptical.
What? You don't have a bidet yet?
I do not. I'm apparently wiping my butt with paper like a pleb.
Like with sandpaper.
You still have to get rid of
dry it
the
off.
water and dry
as
out the
Jaron
stuff,
said, I
but-
think as Jaron said, he said, "I'm not a heathen like Owen." I think that's what he said once upon a time. Because somebody asked, "Do you still use toilet paper?" He's like, "I'm not a heathen like Owen," with no evidence that I don't
sounds
use
a
toilet
lot
paper.
like Darren, actually.
I just said it. Anyway, still
Doesn't
hurts.
sound like me.
That sounds
that sounds
1000%
just like-
sounds
literally
like
go
you.
look at the track,
Transcripts.
Tony. Go look at the track. It'll sound exactly like the waveform of Jaron saying it.
Okay.
Data. I'll tell you mine. Trackball mouse. I did not like the idea of it, but I got carpal tunnel and it was like really bad. So I switched to the trackball. It ruined me for gaming.
Yeah.
Like I can't. Like it's really been hard to transition to a mouse at all for gaming. But it was one of those things where now I don't think I could even use a standard mouse. I mean, I still can, but I just don't enjoy it at all.
I had the
It's
same experience with it. I used a trackball for a while, but the trackpad for me, the Apple trackpad, because let's be honest, the Apple experience with the trackpad is about miles away better than Windows.
On a laptop that has a good trackpad, it's not as far ahead as it used to be by any stretch.
Windows trackpads have gotten pretty good.
It's gotten
Can you do
way
multiple
better.
finger gestures and things
Yeah,
like
of
you
course.
can?
Yeah, they've
Yeah,
had that
that's
for
nice.
years.
100%. So
I've been a Mac fanboy, Apple person.
Yeah, we know.
Maybe you
We
should
know.
go to the other camp and so you know what you're talking about.
I have no
maybe
desire.
maybe
No
that's
desire
a
at all.
better idea.
Oh yeah,
Maybe you
spoken like a
maybe
true
you-
Apple fanboy.
Maybe you should switch to PC
here.
for 3 months.
oh,
Instead
Yes!
of us,
Here we
instead of us
go.
switching to phones, I'll switch to a MacBook Pro, and you can switch to a Windows PC.
That would be fun. For science.
For the
Where
show, Lando.
Where am I going to get a Windows computer from?
I got you.
we'll find one.
They're bulky,
has
and their
plenty.
batteries don't last very long, and they're heavy. I have no interest.
They also take
Heavy.
screenshots of how much you
They're
want.
not any heavier. What are you talking
Obviously
about?
haven't held a Windows laptop in 10
The ones my
years.
employees have at the office are like a couple pounds heavier than mine for sure.
Because you
6
buy crappy computers, that's why.
A 16-inch MacBook Pro is one of the heaviest laptops I've ever owned.
I don't have a 16-inch. I have the small one,
Well, there's part of your problem.
Got the
You got the inferior
the
version.
13-inch, whatever it is.
14 thing they do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
smaller,
gonna
lighter,
say-
better.
My answer is gaming PC. I was skeptical for years. Like, why is
that's
Tony
another good
spending
one.
this much money
Yeah,
on
that's
a
a-
gaming
oh,
PC?
Jaron.
Like, I have a console. I'm good. I don't care about frame rate. I think I told that to you once,
Oh
Tony.
yeah.
Yep. You have no idea. You had no idea what you were missing.
Yeah, and then ever since then, it's been one.
I don't even know that
huge
version of
money pit.
myself. I don't know that version of myself anymore. Sometimes I look back at that guy that was like, I don't really need a gaming PC. Like it can't be that much better. Like I don't
It
know that
is.
person anymore.
It is.
That person. I'm sometimes like, oh, that guy.
And I grew up with a gaming PC too, so like
That's why I never understood how you went away from it, because I never had a gaming PC growing up, and then I got into it in college, and Uncle Squinky definitely helped push me in that direction because he's been building PCs back when you had to like toggle dip switches and stuff on the motherboard to install.
Scuzzy.
You don't have to do that
Remember
anymore.
remember
No,
Scuzzy?
dude.
Remember Scuzzy?
Wow, it's been a long time since I
Scuzzy
built a
drives
PC.
and stuff like that.
You don't have to do any of that now. It's like it's like putting together a simple 3D puzzle at this point. But anyway, I got into it in college, and yeah, it's just, I still buy the consoles because I enjoy the exclusives and stuff. But that was what always boggled my mind. You had the awesome gaming PCs when we were growing up, and then you stopped doing gaming PC gaming, and I'm just like, what happened to this guy?
yeah, growing up, like I knew like I knew about resolution, I knew about what the different graphics options did, but
I didn't know any of that
I-
until
I
way
didn't
later.
really know much about frame rate though. And like I could tell when a game ran crappy, so I decreased the resolution. But like to me, it's just okay. It runs okay.
Well, and part of that too goes back
Look,
to
are you having a good time or a bad time, Jaron?
a part of the frame rate stuff goes back to around the PS3 era, Xbox 360 era, when things started being much more commonly at 30 frames per second. Before that,
Yeah.
most or the vast majority of games, except for poor attempts at 3D on Super Nintendo and and the N64 for that matter, most games on that had terrible frame rate, but everything else was like a lot. There were a lot of 60 FPS games, especially on the GameCube and stuff like that. So it was not as clear cut of a benefit to be PC gaming with the GameCube and the PS2 and stuff like that, and the Dreamcast.
Oh, the Dreamcast. Oh,
Oh, Tony, why did the say it?
Sega, Palm.
Here comes the Jaren guy.
Why do
There
all
we
the
go
best
again.
companies go belly up, huh? Why?
Well,
Why?
they
Wait to
don't.
hear this one
They
more
died
TV time.
too young. They were too beautiful
All
to
right.
live in this world.
Thanks for writing in, Lang. Let's see. Now we can get started on the stories. I got to get this out of the way real quick because it's been sitting on this desk for months, and I just need to get it off my desk and into the garbage. These are a set of earbuds that are the absolute worst earbuds I've ever used in my life. They are called Ambie, Ambie.
Don't Bo make something like this? Or
Bose just released a set of similar. They clip onto your ear,
Like in between your
in
cartilage.
between your cartilage.
like an earring, kind of.
Yeah, like a clip-on earring or whatever they are, and
Seems
they
uncomfortable.
they just hook on there like that, and they produce sound. Terrible, terrible sound.
They barely produce sound, I would say.
So does it have a speaker? Or is it using induction?
It's got a speaker, yeah. It's got a
okay.
little speaker. I found these because my sister bought them, and she paid like $35 or something. And if you go look for these online, if you get real, I don't know, I'm pretty sure these are real ones, but the real ones, their MSRP was like $150.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, when they came out.
That makes me go, are you doing it wrong for 150?
Yeah, and then I think they came out like 18 months ago or so. Now you can get them on deal websites for like $35.
They're not even worth
Ouch.
that.
They're not
Ouch.
even worth the $35.
Oof.
They are the absolute worst sounding earbuds I've ever used in my life, and I've used a lot of earbuds.
Yeah, you have.
Tony let me try them for an hour. For me personally, they were really hard to get onto my ear. Once they were on, they hurt my ear, and I could barely hear anything, and the sound was just horrendous. I used them for like 5 minutes. I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Yep. No idea how the Bose ones are. They're getting pretty good reviews, but that's Bose.
They're
And
Bose.
Wow, stay away from Ambie. Ambie ear cuffs is what they're called. Ambie
cuffs,
ear
come
cuffs. They're absolute trash.
Better off using your phone speaker.
Seriously, you are better off like if you need a more isolated sound, just roll up a piece of paper and put your speaker at the end of the paper tube you just made and put the other end on your ear. It'll sound
Awesome.
better.
So, number
0
score.
out of 5.
0 out of 5.
Straight
Zero.
up 0.
Oh.
out of
So bad
10.
we don't even use the traditional review system score
Nope,
here.
It's gone.
Wow,
Whatever.
okay.
0 out of whatever.
Yeah.
These I was baffled at how bad these were. The end. All right, next thing. Let's talk about some, let's bring it back to Apple. Let's talk about some useful bits that have been scavenged from the Apple Car project that has been canceled.
Hey, that's me.
That's you.
One of the things they pulled from here. Here's the cool thing. They put a lot of years into that project, right? Like
Yeah.
was it
A lot
like
of
10
money,
years?
too, I'm sure.
Reportedly, we don't really have any.
Yeah,
Of
Good
course,
data.
we don't know.
But now the developers have been reassigned or let go, whatever they did. But there was a chip that was made for the Apple Car.
A chip?
A chip known as the Apple Car was going to be called the project was known as Titan, but what they have now left over is a chip that's like, where'd they say it, like 4 times the strength of an M2
M2 Ultra.
M2 Ultra,
Four
right?
4 times
Wow.
M2 Ultra.
That's a
Yeah.
big one, if true.
So what do they use that for? Like, this is really just speculation,
Probably
right?
nothing.
Like I mean, there's got to be at 10 years of dev time, allegedly, there's there's got to be some leftover tech there that that was like all sorts of goodies in there that they can now repurpose. So one of the things though is that this AI, the car was going to have an AI brain basically, and it was going to run on this chip.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's really just speculation. They haven't said anything about it or whatever, but they did say that chip exists, and we don't know what they're going to do with it. So just more speculation. What do you guys think?
I would venture to say that this chip would be way too power hungry for any sort of laptop.
Yeah.
The only thing it would maybe fit in is a Mac Pro.
Yeah,
Mac
like
Pro
the new Mac Pro.
Yeah.
For $20,000.
Yeah, exactly. For a ridiculous amount of money.
Can you imagine?
I would guess the reason why they needed such a big chip on a car is to do like AI driving, like self-driving cars.
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
they were
Self-driving
shooting
stuff.
for.
Yeah.
And it probably became
I
infeasible of why they canceled it. Would be my speculation.
That's the only thing that they would need a chip like that for. But even then, that feels like overkill. Like you can't compare it to Tesla's full self-driving because it's bad.
It's so bad.
But all they're rocking is like a Ryzen processor.
I was going to say, what is
Tesla
Tesla using?
Tesla uses they have a Ryzen processor, but they have a different thing to offload all the driving data onto. It's a GPU of some sort. I'm pretty sure.
Doing the
Do they?
AI stuff.
I'm pretty sure. I'll check.
No wonder it's running over people. Probably an AMD.
Heyo. So
Womp.
anyway, let's move on to the next story. And while Jaron is talking about this, I'm going to look into that because I'm really curious. Apple continues to completely screw with the devs for the EU market.
Yeah, out of nowhere, they just said, "Oh, you can download apps from your website, devs." And while that sounds cool, it follows a model that computers have used ever since the internet was invented. And Apple, again, has seemed to figure that out pretty well on Mac OS. So I'm not sure why they're so freaked out with iOS. Anyway, they said that devs can. What did you say, Lando? What did you say?
I said it's the money.
Oh, I thought you were gonna defend Apple. Okay.
No,
I
not
agree
this one.
with
It's
that.
the money.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's the money.
Yeah.
The App
Anyway,
Store has made them a lot of money.
It just feels more like, I mean, it's definitely the money, but at this point, it feels just spiteful too.
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
this sounds like, what is it called? Something. There's a word in compliance.
Malignant?
That's
Malicious?
Malicious
compliance.
compliance.
Malicious
Oh, yeah.
compliance.
Anyway, it's not
we got there.
good news, really. Developers can distribute their apps on the web, but there are strict requirements for that. You had to have distributed 1 million copies of your app in Apple's App Store the previous year to even qualify for this.
Seems arbitrary.
That is just, yeah. It's like, okay, you used our stuff already last year and you made 1 million downloads. Do you want to go through the process of trying to stand it up yourself now on your own website?
Yeah.
You
Well, it's
know?
like you walk up and you're like, I'd like to be able to publish my premium app on my website, please. And have you filled out the 1 million downloads request?
It feels like the mob,
No.
like
Feels like the DMV is what it
so
feels
yeah.
like.
you don't need our protection next year. Well, let us show you how you don't need our
Yeah.
protection next year.
Right?
It's a
Yeah.
nice app there. Really hate to see your downloads drop off.
Sure be a
Nice.
shame.
Sure be a shame if that downloads dropped off. Anyway, yeah, we'll let you host your little app.
Yeah, and there was more drama with Epic. Is anyone else have the story? I don't think it's on there.
I put
Hey.
it in arcade.
Oh, did you?
I think I did. Are you talking about Epic and
Non-gaming
I just
engine
lost my
development.
train of
All right,
thought.
stay tuned for Geekshow Arcade to talk about Epic and the
In a few
ongoing
days,
drama
of
with
course.
Apple.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I did. Did I put it in? I'm pretty
There's
sure
two
I
Epic
did.
stores over there for you, from you.
Okay,
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
I did.
it's in there.
Okay.
Yep,
cool.
yep.
Speaking of which, Apple has more plans for its. Wait, did I put this? Oh, they also walked back on some stuff in the EU as far as their third-party app store. Not walked back, but defined. Feels like walking back. Defined how they would know. Not how they would know, I guess, but how they will enforce the only phones from the EU can sideload and stuff
Oh, yeah,
like
nice.
that.
Oh,
How are
yeah.
they going to do this?
Man, I took a long time to get there. So basically, if they notice that your Apple phone from the EU is outside of the EU for more than 30 days, they cut off your ability to sideload apps.
Not only sideload, but update said
up-
apps that are already on your
Yeah.
phone.
Exactly.
Boo.
It's same in reverse. You go to the EU for more than 30 days and you get the ability to?
They didn't
No.
say that.
No.
I highly doubt that.
Owen, come on.
Come
now.
on.
So the country or region of your
What a
Apple
silly
ID must
question.
be set to one of the countries in
Yeah.
the EU.
And
so
then if you travel
you'd have
outside-
to change your Apple ID to be able to be qualified for that, and you have to be located within the EU.
Yeah, so they're doing it all basically off of your
Time for an IME changer app or something. That's what you
Oh,
need.
I don't think that matters if they can just pull the GPS information.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You know.
So
there you go.
I hope anyone in the EU doesn't travel for more than 30 days, because if you do, sorry.
Yeah. So back to the article, or back to the thing we're talking about with Tesla. So back in 2019, they were actually using NVIDIA GPUs in their
take it back.
cars to do the fully self-driving stuff. And then in 2019, they switched over to their own in-house processors for the fully self-driving.
They were like,
autonomous
it's
driving stuff.
T-Video.
Yeah, you know.
It's
But
Okay,
the,
so they use Ryzen
the
for like the infotainment
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. And then they definitely do have a GPU of some sort in that setup as well, because that was one of the things Musk was bragging about, playing The Witcher 3 in your car.
yeah.
Only
Right
if you
on.
get the most expensive cars, the
Right.
Model S or the Model X. It's not
Yeah.
in the Y or the 3.
Oh, okay. Well, there you
Is
go.
that software bound or is that some hardware change?
Hardware.
probably
they,
hardware.
They have
It-
beefier GPUs in the more expensive cars.
Yep.
I would love to find that and swap it out. Just
All right. Speaking of stupid rich people, let's talk about Bobby Kotick.
Who's that?
He was the Activision CEO up until the end of last year.
he was chief bro over at Activision.
And normally this would be an arcade article, but he's not in the video game business anymore.
He ain't going for that. Nope.
Now, he apparently, rumor on the street is, and this was according to a report by the Wall Street Journal, he is talking about finding partners to try and purchase TikTok. And I
TikTok's
that's
say-
got
the
some,
thing right now.
There's some pressure right there too, because they've been given the gauntlet's been thrown to get out of
It's on the verge of being thrown.
Yeah, exactly. It's they're like winding up to throw.
Yep.
But yeah, they're being told get out of ByteDance or get out of the U.S.
And if you know anything about Bobby Kotick, his best thing that he does is find something that works in whatever his business is, and then just drive it into the ground,
Like Elon
over
Musk?
and over
Right.
and over. Yeah, basically, he took Activision and stripped away everything fun that it did and made it the Call of Duty house, because that's what made the most money. And so they were successful. You know, they made their investors happy, but they were also only putting out like 2 games a year, and one of them was Call of Duty,
Yeah,
and well, Call of Duty and Blizzard stuff. WoW,
right. Wow.
Overwatch, things
WoW's
like that.
always been there.
Yeah,
Their
exactly.
cash
Yeah,
cow.
WoW's a
Another-
cash cow.
Another cash cow. So you know what would he do with TikTok? You know, buy it and then just like tank
I
it,
think-
trying to please the shareholders.
Yeah, I don't know.
More TikTok shop, please.
I was excited when Elon Musk, and this is probably the only time I'll say this in recent history, but I was excited when Elon Musk was thinking about bringing back Vine, buying
See,
it.
I wish that's what he would have done
Yeah, me
instead of
too.
buying Twitter. Bring back Vine. It would have
Yep.
been awesome.
It would have competed.
Remove the 6-second limit, make it
Yeah.
more like TikTok.
It would have been.
Exactly.
It would have been a U.S. TikTok company. It would have been some sort of challenge to that.
Elon's not that
So-
smart.
Sure.
He doesn't think that's true.
sure
I
seems
didn't
like
He's
say what he
playing
thinks.
4D
Do I?
chess while
playing-
we're all
That's
just
right.
playing 2D chess.
Yeah.
That's right. He's a 4D
3D
chess,
chess?
man.
Whatever. Frickin' Elon.
All right. Moving along, we got speaking of 3D things.
You got the transition.
3D
You found it.
Wi-Fi.
This was interesting. This caught my eye. You know, the headline is scientists say they can fix your internet connection with 3D Wi-Fi. Like 3D Wi-Fi, what's that all about? That's not quite what you're thinking, but it's still pretty cool. So scientists at the University of Florida have developed a new type of 3D wireless chip that could significantly improve internet connectivity issues. So currently, we're using planar chips. They're essentially flat, like so the processors inside the devices. And because they're flat on this plane, they have limitations. And the main one being for Wi-Fi, how many frequencies they can handle simultaneously, which causes network slowdowns and when lots of devices are connected. But the new 3D design stacks multiple processes on top of each other, like Jenga, right? Allowing each one to handle a different frequency. This could increase bandwidth and network capacity while taking up less physical space. The technology promises major benefits as more smart devices are added to networks and data usage increases. It may help enable technologies like smart cities that require massive wireless infrastructure. So 3D.
Nice.
So it's not 3D Wi-Fi like you were thinking, like, more Wi-Fi in physical space, because Wi-Fi is 3D, guys. These are
So
3D chips.
companies that make CPUs such as AMD, Intel, and Samsung and things like that, they have been pushing into the 3D chip market or the 3D chip design for a couple of years now. Same idea. They take the transistors, and instead of having just one layer of transistors, you can stack up the gates and things like that to create more transistors in the same footprint, in the same like footprint squared, and just make it taller so it's got more volume. Very interesting how they can apply that to this. I wonder how much of a difference.
Well, because if you think about it, the way Wi-Fi works right now, it works on one frequency, and devices are really good at like frequency jumping and switching automatically
so
depending on
maybe
interference and stuff.
Each
But
layer could be its own frequency kind
Right.
of a thing.
yep,
Have there been companies that have done that, like on 3D ASICs like that? Like that's is that kind of an area for expansion? That's interesting because ASICs like routers and things like this are typically very flat like that.
All the stuff that I've seen have been for like general purpose computing, like CPUs and SoCs and things, not ASICs. So that would be specific to this.
Nice.
Cool. That'll be neat. I like faster Wi-Fi and better range. That's for sure.
Well, it's so timely too. So we were talking about this last week. It's like, remember when we were talking about Wi-Fi went in infancy, how slow it was back then, and how fast we are now.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're just poised to go even faster, which is even more bonkers.
Love it.
I think the next big tick in this will be congestion. Like making routers that aren't known to each other also have that smart ability to switch chips around or switch their channel frequencies.
Yep.
So
this will help with congestion for sure.
All right. We have a PSA about you Roku fans.
Oh yeah. So anybody else got a Roku here? Do you guys use
I have
Roku
a Roku account, but I don't.
So if you have a Roku account, one of the things Roku requires when you set it up, at least if I remember correctly, you had to put some kind of payment option in. Even if you hooked it up to your PayPal, or if you didn't put in, you had to hook up a payment account. So they have found that 15,000 Roku accounts are being sold on the dark web for about 50 cents a pop.
Dark web.
And because Roku required it when you created your account to put in a payment option.
What a dumb thing to do.
People are getting hit with those hacked accounts buying new hardware, because you can buy new Roku devices straight from their shop that way, and also subscribing to services, because you can also subscribe through them to Disney Plus and to Netflix through Roku, and using these other people and using these credit cards. So if you have a Roku account or you have any Roku device, which you probably have an account on, go change your password.
That's not good.
Roku is one of those companies that required that. Remember when Apple ID used to make you put in a credit card? And they're like, don't worry, nothing's ever going to be charged, but we just want this just in case.
Just in case.
Well, Roku didn't get the memo, so I went and checked on mine. I remember I hooked mine up to PayPal, because then PayPal has some other 2FA you have to use to make the payment when you do it, but still, I recommend not having a credit card saved in Roku anyway. Use a payment app like PayPal if you have it. But anyway, go change that because it's not good.
I'm looking right now. Let's see. Purchase history on my Roku account. No purchases in the past 6 months. I'm okay.
Same here with mine.
For now.
Yeah, you can log into your Roku account, go check that, and see if you've been.
Time to change.
Maybe you're signed up for something.
Yep. All right. Okay, let's talk about electric cars because we already mentioned a little bit of that, but Rivian, we teased this last week. Rivian had their big unveiling of the R2, and it looks pretty rad. The R2 is going to be smaller than the R1S or the R1T, and it is a 2-row SUV. So you got your front seats and your middle seats, and then you got trunk space in the back. They're planning on it being roughly 300 some odd mile range. I think 320, depending on the package you get. Can be anywhere from slightly under 300 to over 300. And it looks good. Like, it's a good looking car.
Indeed.
It
I
definitely
like the look a lot.
Yeah, it keeps the Rivian vibe. The front end, you look at it and you're like, that's a Rivian. They have their style.
They still have that fancy flashlight in the door.
Yep, you still got your flashlight in the door. The starting price is $45K, which still feels pretty steep to me.
It's much, much cheaper than the last one, though, and this is a crossover.
Yeah, it is much cheaper than the R1S or the R1T. And within 24 hours,
price, actually.
It's not bad. Don't get me wrong. It's not bad.
Especially since the average price of the car has gone up a ton. It's really not that bad, especially if you get a U.S. tax credit.
I was in the $48K range for my SUV. I mean, it's pretty comparable. I mean, it's smaller, sure.
I was going to say your SUV probably has 3 rows, though.
It does have 3 rows.
Yeah, so
this one has 2. So, but still, I mean, that seems more affordable to me.
Credit, once you apply the tax credit, it's probably not that bad either.
Yeah, you get both halves of the tax credit with Rivian. You get the full $7,500, and I don't know if they participate in the upfront rebate or if you have to claim it.
I think they're all up front now.
Are they all up front now? Yeah, so
Could be wrong.
You'd get that right off the top, so $38.50 or whatever.
Yeah. Which even is better, right?
Yeah. That to me, that should be the starting point for a lot of these cars. These smaller electric cars should be in the 30s or lower. And so when you get there with the tax credit, that's pretty cool.
It is, but this car's make believe because it's not out until 2026, and hopefully they don't raise the price by then.
And they definitely.
I will bet you
do
$5,000 they'll
that.
raise the price.
Well, parts, supplies are more expensive.
Yeah. The other thing to consider too is it shows that demand is not as flat as people have been saying it has been for electric cars recently. It might be more related to just they don't like what's out, or they don't want to support Elon, perhaps, with the Tesla stuff, because in 24 hours, Rivian had 68,000 reservations for the R2.
Holy cow.
At $100 a pop.
And it's still over a year from being out.
Yep. So
at least a year.
I mean,
how's that compare to the Cybertruck's debut on that?
So Ford,
that's really not comparable. It's a truck versus an SUV. Cybertruck is twice as much.
But just talking about like pre-sales like that.
And the Cybertruck was way bigger hyped for sure. But in perspective, the Ford's F-150 Lightning
that's
hit
another
100,000 pre-orders in 3 weeks. And the Tesla Cybertruck hit 250,000 in less than a week. So, take that for whatever it's worth. And also,
what was Rivian's number?
68,000. Also, this article is 4 days old, so I don't know what the current. It's basically been a little over a week since it debuted. So, I'm assuming that numbers have continued to climb, but I don't know how high. Now, the next best thing about this R2 debut was Rivian pulled a one more thing on.
I love when they do that.
So they pulled a one more thing and announced the R3 and R3X. Those are going to be built out of their new factory in Georgia, but it's a smaller version of the R2, which again is a smaller version of the R1S.
Yeah.
They didn't give out too many details on that, but the R3X, that is like a specialty rally type.
It's almost I would say it almost qualifies as the a hot hatchback, because it is a hatchback. It does come up like a hatchback in the back, and it's smaller than the R2 by I think like 6 or 8 inches on the length. I can't remember. MKBHD did a really cool video going through both the R2 and the R3. with the like CEO fellow of Rivian.
That's cool.
It was a really cool video.
So the R3X, it's kind of dune buggy-ish. Has a tri-motor design, and it's only a tri-motor design. So it feels like the R3 is going to be the cheaper model out of all of these that we announced today.
Yeah, the R3X isn't going to be super cheap because it's a
Yeah.
performance vehicle. It's basically their performance, package on there.
They did not announce a price or release date on the R3, so after 2026 by the sounds of it. But compelling cars announced by Rivian. I hope they last that long.
Yeah, that's the thing is they're going through some financial issues right now.
They
And,
laid off a bunch of people a couple months ago.
They halted construction on one of their plants for the time being. So yeah, it's not awesome, but hopefully they can pull it out. And because I think they're really cool
They
cars.
pulled it out.
Hey, so I want to see them keep making cars, and
I don't understand.
it's a Seinfeld reference.
Oh.
He took it out. That's it for the Rivian stuff.
Do you know what it is, Lando?
Really neat stuff.
Maybe it's something we can talk about in between.
Penis.
Ugh.
Yeah, that was for the in between, Jaron.
Okay, yep. Let's
That's
see.
the kind of stuff you put in the in between.
Let's do a quick lightning round. Lando has something depressing to talk about.
Oh, this has been on the list for a number of weeks now, and it makes me sad. We found a new scientific study, talking about the climate and how bad it sucks, but we're finding that within the next 10 years or sooner, the Arctic could experience ice-free summers due to global climate change.
Ice-free, meaning
Ice-free summers,
no,
where the
no
sea
ice.
where the sea ice coverage drops below 1 million square kilometers within the next decade. Of course, the exact timing depends on how quickly we reduce fossil fuel emissions, but let's be honest, we suck at that.
It's true.
So yeah, ice-free conditions may occur between May and January by the end of the century, while a low-emission scenario could result in ice-free periods from August to October. An ice-free Arctic would transform the habitat and negatively impact wildlife like polar bears and seals that rely on sea ice. It would also make the coastal areas more vulnerable to erosion from stronger ocean waves without the sea ice to buffer.
So this is what you do. You gaslight yourself into thinking that climate change is good and that we'll be closer to the ocean for vacation as a result of it.
Warmer in the
land is
winter.
like
their little statement here on the potential fix is just it's ridiculous. It says if we could figure out how to take CO2 back out of the atmosphere in the future to reverse warming, sea ice will come back within a decade. Not just stop putting as much greenhouse gas into the air, but let's figure out a way to take it out, CO2 scrubbers, giant CO2 scrubbers. And it's like, why would you even...
China's making some of those.
Why would you even propose that as a possible solution? We can't even agree on how to slow it down, let alone how to get rid of it.
Yeah, there has been trials of CO2 scrubbers. They put it into bricks and then bury the bricks and
but they're
nothing large scale though.
Nothing large scale, and it's
nothing
insane.
could actually help.
Exactly, it's just huge. The undertaking would be absolutely insanely massive. Let's see, Owen. Lightning
Ready?
round. Yep.
This one's about this. I follow type or diabetes stuff pretty closely, glucose monitors, stuff like that. There's a new blood glucose monitor that's come out that's over the counter. So normally, like for my son, we have to buy these very expensive glucose monitors that stay on his arm for like 10 days, and then we also have to have the other thing to inject insulin from his pump. And this glucose monitor is one that's over the counter and kind of opens it up to the world. It's a great product. It doesn't compete with Dexcom, which is what we use and what I was just talking about. This is more for people who are not using insulin. They want to just monitor their blood sugar, or they're taking they're managing their blood sugar with oral injection or oral medications and stuff like that, or people with insulin resistance, which is type 2 diabetes. So it's not really for me and my son, but it's pretty cool that it's coming out now. You put this patch on your arm, and it's a little sensor that I assume it has to inject, and then it basically
Is it like a needle that you
so
keeps
it
it in
has
place in your arm?
so it's got a sticker, and then there's a little
Tiny needle with a sensor or whatever.
or I mean, like the Dexcom one, you push the button and it uses a needle to shoot a plastic cannula in the
A what?
or
A what?
cannula. It's a little plastic tube.
Is that like a mosquito bite kind of thing?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. With the Dexcom, it shoots a little wire in that it keeps under the
Interesting.
surface to monitor your blood sugar. This one is probably something like that. They didn't say how it was attached, what kind of device attaches it, but it does do measurements and trends for every 15 minutes. So it's kind of cool if you're type 2 diabetes, or if you're pre-diabetic, stuff like that, or if you're just really trying to manage your blood sugar and stuff. If you think something's going on, this little over-the-counter thing, you don't have to get a prescription anymore. You can
There you
go
go.
buy this.
It's very
called
cool.
And you
Stalo.
can play pickleball like the
There you
guy
go.
on this
And that
article.
guy, yeah, he's definitely having a blast playing pickleball. Stello Glucose Biosensor System.
Can't we harvest mosquitoes, take their little nose pricker thingies, and just use that? Because you can barely feel a mosquito bite, right?
Yeah.
Good idea. Great
you
idea.
go.
Yeah.
Awesome idea.
It's an
Right.
idea.
Just file it next to CO2 scrubbers at a global scale. We'll get on it.
Yep.
All right, Jaron. Oh, you don't have any other articles. All right, Tony. New chip startup promises 100 times efficiency gains.
Bull crap.
Yeah, that's what I said when I saw this too. I saw this in Reuters or on Reuters. It's a new chip startup company called Efficient Computer, and it has raised $16 million in seed money from led by the Silicon Valley venture capitalist firm Eclipse to help
They're
fund
not getting their money back.
help fund work on its low power chip.
Just like that.
Basically, they're saying they have a new way of designing microchips, CPUs, etc., processors that change the way software is executed. And
Oh, they're really going to lose their money then.
so
they're going down to the machine layer, the
basically
assembly language.
it's called they call it Fabric, and
It's a Microsoft product.
it was developed by Efficient's founding team over 7 years at Carnegie Mellon University. It says this new architecture allows us to target software in a more efficient way. It's a more efficient way of executing programs. Basically, they're saying they're going to start off with these, what are they called? Like very low power chips for putting in things like health devices, civil infrastructure monitoring, satellites, etc. And they're supposed to make it so that the computer can run for a long, long time without having to be recharged or replaced. I thought there was a spot in here that said what. Maybe they edited it out. Anyway, they're going to provide a set of tools as well to allow for software devs to easily optimize their code for these new types of processors.
Right.
So they have enough money for about 60 people for a single year.
Yeah, exactly.
Hope they do well with that.
Not a lot of runway there, but you know what? If it pushes forward even half or a quarter of their goal, that would be pretty rad. You know, 25 times more efficient, I'd take it. So there you go. All right, I think that about wraps it up for today. Before we go, though, big shout out to our awesome Patreon backers. If you donate $6 a month or more at patreon.com/helpdeskarcade, you get a shout out on the air, which Jaron has for us right now.
Big shout out and thank you to David Broshinsky, Connor Keesaw, and Wiffleball Tony. And we'd like to express our gratitude to Jason Eatman, Que onda, carnal? Control the future, not the now. Andy Bird, Be the 8-year-old. Tony, the home theater geek. Travis Johnson. Buy Geekshow Arcade Help Desk stickers at Pieman Graphics on Etsy. All proceeds go to Lee George Cade's medical bills. Jeremy, No Name No Color, Kesslo, Eric Steinman, Eric Cruz, Ona's Tech Cred -1, Matt
Oofa.
Nelson, Harry Patch.
Should have
Comes and
hosted.
goes.
You should
It
have
comes and
hosted.
goes. It comes and goes.
Adam, Aaron Faulkner, Stuart Lloyd. History is there for you to learn from or repeat your choice. Ryan M. and Adam Hecht. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. We'll see you in the next one, whether it's in Geek Show Arcade or next week. Until then, Owen, take us out.
Actually, Lando,
Oh,
take us out.
Lando, take us out. I haven't hosted for 2 weeks. I'm rusty. Lando,
time-
take us out.
Next time
Lando,
you're trapped on a
Lando,
dinosaur.
take us out.
Take
Next
us out,
time-
Lando.
I'm trying. I'm
Take us
trying,
out.
guys. Next time you're trapped on a dinosaur island, be sure to take your kids and that they know Unix to save the day. Be an end user.
Jurassic
Boom.
Park reference.
I thought you meant like the people who sing Unix.